Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my post-game reaction for the Arizona Cardinals versus the New Orleans Saints. What a game, and man, finally we have a Thursday night game that is actually interesting. The past few Thursday night games have not been all that great. This was a very fun game. I'm gonna share with you my thoughts on the game. We're talking about the injury report coming into the game. We'll go over some stats. Man, we had a fight on the field physically, and then we had a verbal altercation between the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals and also Mr. Drama Queen himself, Mr. Kyler Murray. But we're going to get into that, man. Great game, great showing, lots of action. We even had Kevin White, who I didn't even think was in the NFL anymore, even get I think it was 62 or 64-yard a pass down the field. So we're going to get into all that tonight. In the meantime, I'm going to go and hit y'all with like the dopest intro you guys have ever heard in your life. And I'll be right back, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue on the show. Here we go.
Touchdown with Doug Smith, celebrate, that's a new move. Heinzman, 2 views, catch him on YouTube. NFL coverage, interviews, who lose, who win, who lose. Comedy, you choose, it's not about moolah. The QB's like Tua is missing in action. No L's on my shooler. Play it like Marino, it's a gamble like casino. Hungry for it, but you know we still gon' try to feed the people. Rivalries will lead the conference. Cowboys are the Eagles. Will Belichick be a threat? Better check. Tomlin on deck. Much respect to the vet. What to expect? Gotta tune in for the rest. Make sure to sub, like, check. At the best, bad boy, the sports podcast for the threat across the north, east, south, in the west. Sitting back, clueless. Time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.
That's right, folks. Not another sports center, but it's a movement. Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. It's a Thursday night. I'm tired, but I wanted to stay up instead of going to bed 3 hours ago because football's on, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of those guys that, will come March, come April, man, I start missing football, man, like a long lost friend I haven't seen in a while, man. So I try to take advantage of every moment, man. I'm a football fanatic, man. So great game tonight. Shout out to Rondale Moore of the Arizona Cardinals, man. He has been on the show. I've actually interviewed him myself. Check out that interview whenever you guys get a chance. I had Kerry Angeline, but he's no longer on the team anymore. But yeah, man, definitely tap in for sure. But yeah, man, tonight's injury report. Let's talk about the injury report. Now, before this game started, I did have the Arizona Cardinals ultimately winning only by a field goal, just because of kind of looking, it's Hopkins' first game back. I know Andy Dalton. I'm not super high on Andy Dalton, and I got love for Andy Dalton. I've seen him play back in person when he was at TCU. But, man, I'm just watching this game tonight, man. It was just – they said he only had one interception, and I'm like, it's too good to be true. And I was right? One of the interceptions wasn't his fault. The other two were. And it was just a rough night. He made some really good throws. But I had the Cardinals winning 33-30. So I knew there was going to be some points on the board. But let's go ahead. Let's check out the injury report, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. Inactive players was James Conner, major part of their offense. Matt Prater, I think it was a hip injury, I believe. The guy Blankenship, whatever his name is, it's whack. He missed. I expect him to be gone by the morning, man. That was weird. They signed him, but I hope he does well in life. Just on the field, he ain't supposed to be there. Then we got running back Darrell Williams, cornerback Trayvon Mueller Jr., Dennis Gardeck, Lecitus Smith, and then Rodney Hudson. So you're missing, two O linemen. I think one of those guys is a starter. But overall, James Conner is the biggest force, right? Then you got the Saints, and they're missing a lot of people. You got wide receiver Michael Thomas, wide receiver Jarvis Landry, cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, Andrews Pete, Adam Troutman, Paulson Adebo, and then defensive end Peyton Turner. So, I mean, literally half of that list right there could have took and changed this game tonight, but it definitely doesn't help when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions. But they stayed in the game, man. They stayed in the game. They were competitive. I like the spirit of the Saints, man. I feel like if they just get right at the quarterback position, this team, I'm just going to say that if they draft the right quarterback in next year's 2022 NFL draft, folks, I'm telling you right now, you can definitely take and expect a team that's going to be, I'll just call it what it is, a Super Bowl competitor. They add depth to other areas throughout the field. I mean, their O-line is pretty good. They got some fresh blood on that O-line, but it is a pretty dang good O-line. So add some more depth to that. Get a quarterback as soon as possible in that draft. Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, CJ Stroud. You got the kid Caleb Williams from USC. They fix that quarterback because Jameis ain't it, man. And Jameis is dope, man. I love Jameis, man. Great locker room guy, but let's face it, he's a career backup quarterback, just like Andy Dalton is. Just like Andy Dalton is. I can't name too many things where I'm just like, man, Andy Dalton, oh my gosh, he's just so good. I mean, last time Andy Dalton was like really, really clutch, and he had some clutch moments tonight. But was I think the 2015 season, right before he broke that thumb before the playoffs, right? That was the last time Andy Dalton was absolutely clutch. But great game tonight, man. I got a few notes here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up here on my phone, man. But man, what I enjoyed was the rowdiness of the game, the attitude of this game. At one point, it was 14-6. And the Cardinals were down. They were the ones who had the 6 points, right? And what's nuts about them is that with the Cardinals, obviously we all know about Kyler Murray and how he was that guy who he needed the new contract. He was gonna get a contract. He was gonna sit out. He wasn't gonna play. And for me, I've kind of seen enough of Kyler Murray. He's a dope quarterback. He's so dope. But there's his height. That's an issue. Okay. We got to talk about there's his height. And then also as well, he has to go run around. He has to get behind out of the way of the O linemen because every single one of them are taller than him. You know what I mean? They can't even draft somebody who's too tall, right? So there's that. And then they forked out a whole lot of money. And to see him, they said all these nice things about him. Oh, he's a leader. He's a leader of men. Kind of tired of hearing that. I'm kind of tired of hearing that term as a football fan. Leader of men. Like, okay. He's a great teammate. And then not to assassinate his character, it's just to kind of see him lashing out at his coach like that. Man, you rarely see that. You know what I mean? I think it's even cheesy, like when Tom Brady does it. You know what I mean? Because that is your head coach. But again, it's a sport where, hey, blood starts boiling and things get said. I'm sure. I hope they respect each other. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope it's not what I thought what I saw on the television. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say that. Then of course, they got Reggie Roby, wide receiver, who had an absolute temper tantrum versus the Carolina Panthers. While he was playing with the Carolina Panthers less than a week ago. He actually got to play tonight. I don't recall him getting any catches. He was targeted, I think, once or twice tonight, but he ended up getting overthrown. So that's another thing. Kyler Murray's accuracy down the field. You know what I mean? So, but again, it's a new receiver, so I'll cut him some slack. And the beginning of this game was just so fun. That's another thing I want to say. Saints were like, man, they were just marching down the field so much. We even got to see a guy who was a first-round draft pick. Gosh, I want to say 7-8 years ago. Yeah, probably like 8 years ago by the Chicago Bears, Kevin White. He got a taste tonight. And man, how dope of that was to take and see Kevin White. Those who don't know me, I don't have like a exact set college football team. I like the Gators a lot. I really rock with Florida teams predominantly, man. But if I had to pick a few teams outside of Florida, I love West Virginia. I've always been ever since the days of Pat White. So I'm very fancy of Kevin White. So for him to go out there and get I think a 64-yard catch, man, that was dope. That was so dope, man. I absolutely loved every minute of it. They try to say he stepped out of bounds, man. He kept running. I ended up uploading that on my short, so go check that replay if you get a chance. But it was great to take and see him eating, man. For somebody who gets counted out, and what you have on this team is, you even have Ingram, you know what I mean, who is a running back who should have retired 3 years ago, and he's still playing football. He's still out there making plays, man. So it's a team that it's a mix of predominantly young, but then there's a lot of older guys in there as well too. I don't even think their coaching scheme is that bad. I just feel like really the quarterback position, that is my biggest issue with the Saints right now. And I want them to do well. That's my wife's favorite team, actually. So I really want them to do well. I also want to take a moment. I meant to do this in the beginning of the episode. Former Chicago Cardinal Charlie Trippi He played for the Chicago Cardinals. He's the oldest living member of the NFL Hall of Fame, and he's the first ever player in NFL history to have 1,000 yards running, 1,000 yards throwing, and also 1,000 yards catching. So rest in peace to Charlie Trippy, man. For sure, man. So my guy, Nightings. Finally, a Thursday night game that's actually yes, Nightings, yes. I was saying the same thing, man. It's finally, and it feels good too, man. It's like, man, it's finally a game it's high scoring, it's fun. I was like, this was a good game. I watched the whole thing, man. I watched the whole thing. Had nothing to do with my wife being a Saints fan. I watched the whole thing and everything, man. So just what a game. It's funny because I was sharing this live feed with the Arizona Cardinals, and I think like all their Facebook groups combined, they only have like 10 of them. Not a lot of all the Cardinals fans are like in Arizona. But I'm happy for them tonight. This is a much needed win. Both these teams came in with a losing record. They both suffered losing record, but this could be a potential turning point for the Arizona Cardinals. I think we just got to wait and see what happens. And then your next thing you said, CMC to the Niners. Bro, literally like 2 minutes before I went live, man, I saw that news, man. You have literally a true running back committee. And you know, it's funny, both these teams have running back committees, and they're pretty good. Well, actually, I'll say more so the Cardinals than the Saints. But man, that's exciting, man. That's exciting to see CMC. And for those who don't know, CMC, you know, he went to school in California, he went to school at Stanford, and it's dope. I don't know if he's from Cali originally, but man, he's gonna light it up, man. So really, really excited, man. But I'm very curious. I don't know what they ultimately got for him, man, but that's a nice. I mean, that's a really, really, really nice pickup for sure, man. So I'm digging that all the way, man. It sucks, man, because I'm like at the beginning of the year, I'm predicting, you know, Dolphins versus Niners. It's a repeat of what happened in the 80s, right? Where we're gonna get our revenge, right? But you know, I don't see that happen. I don't see Miami. But Cardinals, 49ers, if I had to pick one team to make it to a Super Bowl, it would be them. Could see the Eagles making it to NFC Championship. It's tough, man. The NFC is, we were kind of clowning the NFC a few months ago, like, it's not going to be that deep, man. It'll be, you know, it'll you know, we'll see the Packers there again. You know, we'll see a few other teams. And in reality, man, it's like, bro, Eagles that came up, Giants are doing good. It's a really fun division. I'm actually having more fun watching that division than I am the AFC. Never thought I'd say that this year, for sure, man. But CMC in red, I was liking blue, like seeing him in a Niners uniform. In my head is cursed. Yeah, it's gonna be weird seeing him in the red for sure, man. You know that they're in win mode now. They're in win mode, just kind of how like the Rams were last year. They're all in. They're a team that is all in, baby. And it's going to be exciting to see what they continue to do down the stretch, man. I know they lost that very ugly game versus the Bears, who are not even that great of a team in my opinion. But the weather was bad and there's all kinds of excuses. But it's the NFL, you know what it is. And then of course they lost last week against a very scrappy Falcons team, which I predicted they'd be scrappy, man, but not this scrappy. But good to see them taking doing their thing. So video idea. Panthers are falling apart quick. Yes, you know, it's funny, man. I have a sticky note here with a few ideas of some videos that I have taken and coming up, man. So I will be adding that to that, man. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing some solo content outside of my live shows, man. So I got a few ideas. Falcons, some about the Falcons. I got to do some with the Falcons. I want to try to get Terrence Mathis. He's the number 3 receiver in Falcons history for yardage. I've interviewed him on the show, and I have a cell phone, so I'm gonna try to bring him back. He's very, very busy this time of year, so we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna do something on the Falcons regardless. Let's get real on Deshaun Watson. Will he ever be good? Probably video about that. And yeah, man. So and then time to move on from Jameson. Time to move on from Kirk Cousins. Video on that. That will be controversial because every time I do something on the Vikings, man, like people don't really peep it. I'm like, man, it's crazy, man. But Vikings are some dope fans, so we'll see what happens, man. But hopefully I could rattle the cage a little bit with that one for sure. But yeah, man, just keeping let me see. Hey, I appreciate the love, man. Thank you so much, bro. Nah, man. Hey, look, man. When I first started this show, I was living in San Antonio, Texas, and I had a blue curtain in the background. I had no lighting, and I had a webcam. and the webcam or it was my iPad. I think it was my iPad, and I had the tripod, and I had no energy. I looked like I was dying on the inside. Absolutely terrible. It was a terrible video. It was about Coach Brian Flores. And my second video was about AJ Brown working out with the Ravens, or not AJ Brown, excuse me. The other Brown, the guy who threw his jersey out the field. Can't think of him right now, but he's a rapper now, and then he's not coming back to Tampa. He's doing crazy stuff. So, but yeah, man. So a couple more notes from the game here tonight, man. Is Andy Dalton, man. I know a lot of people like Andy Dalton, man. I really, 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 really hope the Saints get a quarterback in next year's draft, man, and don't say, hey, we got Jameis Winston. This year is going to be so deep, and I'm hoping that at least half of the quarterbacks in this year's draft actually land, and actually they're pretty good. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm ultimately hoping. But man, you got Hendon Hooker. You got Caleb Williams. Not only that, you got Caleb Williams. You got CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. Just those four young men right there, man. Bryce Young especially, man. Dude, they get their hands on them. Because we already know Panthers, they're probably going to get the number 1, 2, or 3 pick in this upcoming year's draft, right? So it's going to be really, really interesting for sure, man. But other than that, man, that's pretty much that's man, that's pretty much my my breakdown of tonight's game. I'll end some closing thoughts here, man. Cardinals played a great game tonight. They did what they were supposed to do, but if it wasn't for at least 2 of 3 of those interceptions, Saints would have won this game tonight for sure. I mean, overall, their throwing game was much more successful. And then I don't agree with the contract to Kyler Murray. I'm not going to sing his praises. I mean, he makes good plays, and it's exciting to see a quarterback that fast and him be able to do all this kind of stuff. But man, if it wasn't for his O-line, man, he would just be really nobody, you know what I mean? And stuff. So I really hope he humbles himself, man. You got a few divas on that team. I see people talking back to coaches. This Cardinals team, honestly, man, if they make the playoffs, they'll probably sneak in the final week of the season at maybe 10 wins. So definitely gonna be interesting to see what happens with them. But yeah, the Cardinals, man, they're not anything to take and be scared of. And I want them to do well.